I think we can all agree that 2020 has not been the best year, especially to launch a book with a title like this. A friend of mine suggested maybe I should change the title to something more like this. But it doesn't really matter what you call it. What gives a book a fighting chance is what's between the front cover and the back cover. And what's between the front and back cover of this book are 100 staycation ideas. We don't think of Philadelphia as a staycation spot because we're from Philadelphia. But it truly is a great staycation spot, and you don't have to take my word for it. National Geographic called it one of the best cities to visit, and it was the only US city on that list. Why? Because Philadelphia is full of new things, new museums, new parks, and this new skyscraper, the Comcast Technology Tower, which is the biggest skyscraper between New York and Chicago. And at the very top is the new Four Seasons Hotel and Jean-Georges Restaurant and Sky High Bar, which are on the 59th and 60th floors. If you have somebody to impress, this is where you should take them. The city is also full of lesser known sites, even for someone who's been in Philadelphia a long time. What you're looking at here is Cowtown Rodeo, Hop Sing Laundromat, and Legoland. Today, I'm going to tell you why there's no place like home, how you can take staycations in Philadelphia, and as an aside, you can also help local businesses survive. I'm going to touch on new attractions, lesser known attractions, good places to social distance, how you can help restaurants survive with limited capacity. And first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I am a Philadelphian by choice, not by birth. I moved here in 1991 and immediately started working for the Philadelphia Convention and Visitors Bureau. But I wasn't from Philadelphia. I had lived in Ohio, Michigan, Virginia, North Carolina, Pittsburgh, and then Philadelphia. I got here in 1991. My job for the Convention and Visitors Bureau was to give tours to travel writers. And that's where I learned many of the things in my books. After that, I started a public relations firm, Spotlight Public Relations, and I specialize in restaurants and hospitality. And that's where I learned more of the things in the book and the tips. And then 5 years ago, I was approached by Reedy Press, a publisher out of St. Louis, to write the first 100 Things to Do in Philadelphia book. It's part of a national series. Things with that one went so well that when they came back to me and asked me to write Unique Eats and Eateries of Philadelphia, I was all over the chance to write a second book. Unique Eats and Eateries tells the stories behind 90 Philadelphia restaurants, sweet stories and spicy stories. And after publishing that book, it became obvious there was so much going on in Philadelphia that there was a compelling need for a second edition of the 100 Things book. And that's why I'm here talking to you today. People you can imagine think of me as their personal concierge. Friends, family, coworkers are constantly asking me, where should I take my kids on break? Where should I take my grandkids, my in-laws, my college roommate? And I'm going to share with you the answers that I give them. Take your young children to Legoland. It is like Lego heaven. What you're looking at here is the Philadelphia skyline made of 1.5 million Legos. It is charming. And at Legoland, you'll find charming things around every corner, like full-size animals made of Legos and a 4D theater. What does 4D mean? It means that when the wind blows in the movie, you can feel it. And you can imagine what happens when it rains in the movie. One thing I really like about Legoland is that kids can work on their fine motor skills and their gross motor skills. They can sit and do step-by-step Lego making sessions, or they can run around the laser beam obstacle course and the giant pirate ship. And if that doesn't tire them out, take them to Cowtown Rodeo. If you grew up in the Northeast and the only rodeos you have ever seen are on TV, you need to check out Cowtown Rodeo. It is only 45 minutes from Center City in Piles Grove, New Jersey, and it's the place where you can wear that cowboy hat that's been on the top shelf of your closet. There is steer wrestling and bull riding and horse racing, and it's good, clean fun. One thing I liked about both Cowtown and Legoland was that the kids there seemed totally engaged, not using their telephones or electronics. Now, what happens if you have teenagers? If you have teenagers, I suggest taking them to Franklin Square, one of William Penn's original squares in Philadelphia. Any kid who's ever been to the Jersey Shore loves putt-putt, but this isn't ordinary putt-putt. All the obstacles are Philadelphia icons. The Liberty Bell, the Philadelphia Museum of Art steps, also known as the Rocky Steps, also the Chinese Friendship Gate, Elfrith's Alley, Independence Hall. Play putt-putt, and while you are, take a picture of your teenager next to every one of those icons. And then take the kids to the real icons and take a second picture. There's not a teenager anywhere who's not looking for good social media posts. This is me at Franklin Square Love statue and the real love statue. When you go to the real ones, it becomes like a scavenger hunt and your kids are actually into it, which is amazing for teenagers. The other place you might take them is the Fashion District. This is a new mall where Market East used to be. It's bigger, it's brighter, but it's not just the shopping that you should go there for. It's this. This is Wonder Spaces, a new art gallery that will always be changing with different exhibits. Virtual reality, optical illusions, and things like this. Pretty cool, right? Now, what if your visitors are your in-laws? I suggest taking them to our newest museum, the Museum of the American Revolution, which opened in 2017. To me, this museum pulls together everything in the historic district because it explains why we fought the Revolutionary War, how we fought the Revolutionary War, and also gives new perspective on phrases like all men were created equal and what that means to women, Blacks, and Native Americans. I recommend starting with a brief introduction just for a refresher of what you might have learned in American history class but forgotten, and ending in the very dramatic theater to see the real tent that George Washington slept in. Now, if your in-laws are exceedingly cool, or if your college roommate's coming to town, I suggest taking them to a secret speakeasy. This is Hop Sing Laundromat. I know it doesn't look like much, and that's intentional. There's no sign, you just have to know where to find it. You ring the bell, and you may or may not get in. If you're wearing flip-flops, a baseball cap, or shorts, you're going to be turned away. And even if you get in, if you pull out your phone to take a picture, or you're going to be thrown out and put on the list of people who are banned for life. There are 1,600 people on that list, and you do not want to be on it. Why? Because Condé Nast called this the best bar, not in the city, not the best bar in the state, not the best bar in the United States, the best bar in the world. I'd like to show you a picture, but as you can imagine, there are too many. Oh, what the heck? Let's live dangerously. This is what it looks like inside. There are tables that are spread far apart, even before that was a thing, candelabras on each table, and drinks made of high-end liquors and freshly squeezed juices. There's a whole list of secret speakeasies in the book, along with rules about how to get in them. It's just one of the tips you'll find in the book. I have some more tips for you today. I have 10 good places to social distance. My favorite is what you see in the right-hand corner up there. That's Laurel Hill Cemetery. That's the view looking over the Schuylkill River, and it's beautiful. But the tombstones in this historic cemetery are also very interesting. You'll find Civil War generals, victims of the Titanic, people with names like Wanamaker and Rittenhouse, And a more recent grave is Harry Callis from the Phillies announcer. His grave is a giant stone microphone surrounded by seats from the vet. It's a very interesting place to walk around. There are not many people there, and yet they welcome visitors. The gates are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Down below that is a mural. Do you know where that one is? If you guess that it's around 13th and Spruce, you're correct. It's on the side of the building that houses Vetri Restaurant. In fact, have you ever noticed Vetri is there on the right side? They painted him into the mural right above the white van. You can take mural arts tours. You can, are doing socially distanced guided tours right now, and those are super interesting because you learn the stories behind the murals and how they bring neighborhoods together. If you prefer a self-guided tour, you can find them on Mural Arts Philadelphia's website, or you can download an app that will show you where murals are around you in real time. The Preservation Alliance is also offering architecture tours, both socially distanced guided tours or self-guided tours that you can find on their website. And it is very interesting to take tours of your neighborhood or a new neighborhood. I particularly like taking them of my own neighborhood because then I notice things that I walk by every day and never noticed before. I look at my own neighborhood in a whole new way. Other good places to social distance: Laurel Hill West, which is on the main line, FDR Park, which is near the stadiums, the new Audubon Museum. It's not open right now, but they have 4 miles of birding trails that are open and are lovely. The Navy Yard, which has a new art exhibit that you can walk around and see. It's all outside. The Association for Public Art is another place with really great self-guided tours on its website. And any college campus. Philadelphia has 100 colleges and universities, and the campuses are lovely places to walk around, and most of them aren't too crowded right now. I'd also like to share some tips with you on how to help restaurants survive with limited capacity. I have some tips for people who are ready to go to restaurants. I have some tips for people who aren't ready to eat in restaurants but are doing takeout. And I also have 2 tips that are absolutely free. My number 1 tip, if you're eating in a restaurant, inside or out, is to wear your mask when you order and anytime your server's near your table. When they're bringing dishes, when they're clearing dishes, they're wearing a mask to protect you, you wear a mask to protect them too. Keep them healthy so that our restaurants can stay open and so they're not exposed. Number 2, this is not the time to linger. With fewer tables, restaurants need to turn tables to survive. So order, eat, and go. I have one friend who gets her dessert and takes it home with her so that the restaurant can have her table back sooner. Another option is overorder. Have your dinner and then get tomorrow night's dinner to go. Then you get 2 restaurant meals out of your restaurant experience. Number 3, over tip. Servers are not seeing as many tables as they used to. It's hard for them to make a living, so please think about over tipping your servers. And number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if you're eating in restaurants, is to think outside Saturday night at 7 o'clock. Help restaurants fill up those times early, times late, or even on a weeknight. Dine at 5 or 5:30 or at 7:30, 8 o'clock. Dine on a Tuesday. Help them fill those tables in those less popular times. What about if you're not ready to eat in a restaurant yet? You can still help restaurants. If you get takeout and you can possibly pick up yourself, please do. Even if you can't pick up yourself, call the restaurant directly and make plans with them rather than going through Grubhub or Caviar. The delivery services take a big percentage of the profits from the restaurants. So if you call them directly, they make a lot more money. And some of them offer delivery and even free delivery. So please call the restaurant directly first before going through a delivery service. Also, many restaurants are offering gift certificates. Buy those, help support the restaurants, but don't use them now. Save them until the restaurant's back on its feet. A couple of restaurants have been offering 20% off discounts throughout this time, the pandemic period. So watch for those. You can even sometimes get a good deal that really helps the restaurants. Also, be an ambassador for your favorite restaurant. Buy their t-shirts and wear them when you're walking around and become a billboard. Buy their mug and use it on Zoom calls so everybody knows what your favorite restaurant is. And 2 tips that don't cost anything. One is write reviews of your favorite restaurant on review sites, Yelp, TripAdvisor, Facebook, Google. That really helps the restaurant. Also, be social. Follow your favorite restaurant on social media, like, share, and comment. That helps them spread their word. My books are full of tips. Tips like how to make the most of Restaurant Week, how to get reservations at trendy restaurants, what days are best to visit various museums, and how to get discounts on them. The book also has itineraries like I did tonight, also itineraries for empty nesters and for dates. The things in the book are in Philadelphia, in the surrounding suburbs, and also in South Jersey. And they fall into 5 sections: food and drink, sports and recreation, music and entertainment, history and culture, and shopping and fashion. Now that I told you a little bit about what's in the book, I'd like to tell you why you need a copy. You need 1 or 2 or 62. 1, because the books are great adventure starters. You do not want to sit down at your desk on Monday morning and realize all you did all weekend was laundry. Number 2, it's good to put them on your guest room nightstand. That way you don't have to decide where your guests are going to go. They can decide themselves. Or use them as grandchildren bait. Send them to your grandkids and tell them to mark the things they'd like to do with you. They also make very good gifts: holiday gifts, retirement gifts, or someone who's invited you to their shore house and you want to make sure they invite you again. And why 62? Because businesses use the book. Real estate agents use them as closing gifts. Comcast uses them for recruiting to get people excited about moving to Philadelphia. And lots of places use them as holiday gifts for clients, board members, or employees. And you can too. If you'd like to get copies of the book, go to my website, www.100thingstodoinphiladelphia.com. And one good reason to get them from me and not Amazon is I can send you signed copies. And on my website, you can even put in who you'd like them signed to. They can be personalized, which make really cool gifts. Also on my website, you'll find all kinds of tips like the ones I gave you today. I'm always posting new tips. Go there and look for those tips as well. If you'd like to follow me on social media, hear about new restaurants and attractions opening, on Facebook and Instagram, I'm 100 Things to Do in Philadelphia. And on Twitter, I'm 100 Philly. Thank you so much.